Welcome to the Tea with Martha, where we spill the tea on the untold truths and real struggles of entrepreneurship. I'm Martha Pachow, a fellow business owner who's learned the ins and outs of business the hard way. Get ready for unfiltered discussions on the highs, lows, and messy realities of entrepreneurship. It's time to spill the tea and vent it out with us. Welcome to another episode of The Tea with Martha. And today I have a special guest for you today. Her name is Chelsea Rue. And Chelsea and I are laughing because we just had a fun conversation. So I am just going to plug you in and we want to spill the tea with you. So Chelsea is here. She is a childcare owner, licensed real estate agent in Texas, and a childcare broker. So if you are looking to buy or sell, maybe you need to buy so that later you can sell. I don't know. Chelsea is your girl. Chelsea, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Martha. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. You guys it's so funny because this is one of the reasons why I love having a podcast, because I get to interview people that I consider my friends and that we could just hang out and chit chat and talk about life and our business and cry and laugh too and celebrate each other. And so, yeah, I'm just plugging you into our conversation with Chelsea. So here we go. Chelsea, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. So, once upon a time, I was a kindergarten teacher and had my first baby and decided that clearly, instead of moving up the ranks in the school district, I should just totally buy a childcare center, by the way, an hour and a half away from where I lived.
Oh my.
And at the time, I had two infants. So, what that means is my kids are a year, a month, and a day apart. And I was literally nursing while signing the paperwork. So that was cool, and I'm crazy. But anyways, so did that. I've been doing that 11 years now. And then, but about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I really felt called to take a bigger role and really support other childcare entrepreneurs when they're ready to buy and sell schools. Because I found that there are not a lot of people who really get it. And what I mean by that is this is not like any other business, especially childcare. And I know you talk to all other entrepreneurs, but people who get into the childcare business rarely do it for the money. They get into it because they love children and they really want to
Mhm.
help children, families, and staff. Well, guess what? That heart-centered entrepreneur doesn't typically translate well to transactional and business oriented.
Yep.
And so what I've found is that I can really connect on that like heart-centered level with people and like build that bridge to that business side of managing the transaction of sales. And so funny enough, it's been a really great fit for me. Um and I'm really loving every minute of it.
That's awesome. It is so interesting, that evolution, right? From the risk taker, because, that's not easy either. When you think about what it takes to go from a teacher with that skill set to then I think back and I think you really have to have this like not be naive and innocence of what's really required, because if we really understood, not to scare anyone that's
No one
listening, but
does this, let's be
it
honest.
would be overwhelming to consider all the things that you're going to need to learn and figure out and do and risk and sacrifice. And so I think of you as, and I think of myself because I was a former teacher too. And so thinking, wow, I was really crazy thinking that I could actually get this done and then somehow doing it, and who we have to become in that process as we grow, as leaders and entrepreneurs. And so yeah, what did that look like for you? Like how did you have two infants and just think that was a good idea? Like, I am so curious.
Yeah, well, I'm crazy.
Well,
So
We all are a little bit.
I grew up in an entrepreneurial household, and so
Mm,
whereas my husband didn't, it's really funny, both his parents, like, were auditors for the state, that was their first job and that was their retirement. Like, they never moved jobs, whereas I come from that entrepreneurial side, and I actually never thought I'd become an entrepreneur. I thought I was very risk adverse, and I have found that I am and I'm not. So I
mm.
randomly decide to go skydiving, but I'm very like monetarily conservative. So entrepreneurship's a great balance, right? It's
Yeah.
ooh, yes, and then like, oh, that's a little terrifying. We're gonna stop. Um, but I've found along the way that it really does fit a lot of my skill sets. And I like to say we're accidental entrepreneurs, especially these teachers turned childcare owners, because
Mhm.
we get into it really understanding what we didn't know about business. We knew we would need to learn some things about business, but we didn't realize we'd be getting an MBA like on the fly, school of hard knocks,
Yeah.
through books, conferences, and just failing forward a lot of times.
Mhm.
And so I think the cool thing is, though, through this journey, I've also learned what kind of person I really am and
Mm.
who I want to be and the life I want to live. And I don't know that I would have discovered that had I not become an entrepreneur.
So good.
Right? Juicy. Um,
Mhm.
I
I
always
I
come up with the best things when they're not planned.
yeah. Well, I think, like, there's this saying where it says you wanna get to know yourself, open a business. The
Yeah.
best and the worst come out of us, right? Like, that's who we are at our core comes out of us in the best and the worst times usually.
Well, because it puts you in this true "you are it" role, and I knew I was always okay with that. My natural instincts is as a protector, right? And so I'm fiercely protective of my employees. Um, so some of those behaviors, like, definitely got amplified, but I also learned a lot of what, like, I will and I won't tolerate from people.
Mhm.
Whereas if I was still teaching, I wouldn't necessarily get a choice, right? We
Mm.
don't get to choose who our colleagues are or where we choose to grow
Mhm.
professionally as much. Whereas, as an entrepreneur, you get all of these choices, right? There's infinite choices in
Yes.
what direction do you want to go? What shiny new object does your squirrel brain want to chase? And all of these ideas, and you really do have to filter through them and be decisive and make those choices. And for me, I've loved that journey because I've really been able to tailor living the life that I truly want that's meaningful to me. And which
Mhm.
is why we do all of this, right? Most people, if you ask them, why did they become an entrepreneur? It's for freedom or money, but really money buys freedom. So it's freedom. I haven't really
Mhm.
one that wasn't somewhere in the at least why they got into it, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they didn't stay because they never achieved the freedom because, well, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely trade-offs.
Yeah, and,
Uh,
but I think that it's such a neat journey, but it also can feel so lonely if you're not either super in tune to yourself or connected to others. And I find a lot of people don't take that time to do either or, right? Like
mhm.
we get really superficial. Like let's take social media, for instance, okay, I'm gonna put all this out there, but inside they're like dying, right? Like they're
Mhm.
posting their pictures from Dubai, yet they're like, I can't make payroll next week. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, I think you didn't make the right choices there. Um, you
Yeah.
know, but that like you really do have to be honest with yourself and look in the mirror, and you can't suck in and because your business or people will call you out on that. Um, I think it's one of the
Absolutely.
you don't get to hide as much as maybe you might like. I can
Yeah.
control.
Yeah. I think that there's such a thing about we think, or I think people assume, like, oh, I deserve to do this. I work hard, or That was like early me, like years ago, where it was like, well, I've done all this and I deserve it. But yet maybe the numbers weren't there for to buy that, fancy purse or whatever that may be. Whatever the thing is for you. It doesn't have to be material. It could be other things. It was like we have this idea that because we work hard, we deserve something. But that's not really how things work. I mean, whatever works for you. I usually set milestones. I'm like, okay, when I achieve this, and as a result of this, I could do this or invest here or buy something that will give me a return. So then I can go buy the fancy, sparkly thing I want, but not my brain has just become all about investing. What is the return on this? And that could be for mentorship. It could be for, communities and masterminds. It could be for shopping or traveling. Like whatever that is for people listening, no one does we don't no one owes us anything, right? Our staff doesn't. Our clients don't owe us anything. Like it is our job to carry ourselves in such a way that our business can be strong enough and to sustain it. And like, what do I need to do to learn how to manage my money, how to manage my time, how to invest, how to surround myself with people that are doing the thing that I want to do, and put my ego on the side to say, I may not know everything, but I sure do want to know and I sure do want to learn. And I think that, as people, I don't know, like I've seen that in people that I don't want to say that I know, but yes, right? Like they're not in my circle necessarily, but they once maybe were, or people that was like at the stage where I was as well. And then when I learned that association, proximity matters for both ways.
Mhm.
If you want to continue to grow in every aspect of your life, like you were saying, the time freedom. I'm sure you did too, worked hours and 7 days a week. And I was that early on bootstrapper, and I'm so proud of it and I'm thankful for it because it taught me so much. But then I would look at the people like, how are you walking away from your business? Like if I walk away, my business crumbles.
Mm.
And so then it's learning from people so that I can walk away, because wasn't the whole purpose of this so that I could be a mom and like be with my kids and like spend time with my husband, like, and this is the farthest thing from the truth, because I'm just sucked into my business and I don't have time. And when I do, I'm exhausted and I just want to go to bed and I don't want to have a life. And so that proximity of like who we need to surround ourselves, what we need to learn to have the freedom, and the freedom can look different for it. That means different things for different people. And and I say this often, what we do not change, we choose. So if we're staying in the things that aren't serving us anymore, what do we need to do? Like I that's what I love about your story, is that you have a story. Like no one just decided to come and save you. No one decided to just say, "Hey, Chelsea, you would be, great at this. You should just do this, this, and this, and everything will work out for you." Okay. All right. I believe in you. Oh, and by the way, here's $1 million to get it done. Did
Yeah,
that happen to you?
it sure did not.
No. Yeah. So how did you pivot? Like, okay, did you started the childcare center and then you opened a second one or bought one. I think you acquired it. Tell us about that process. And then where are you now?
Yeah, so I bought my second school and it was not my friend. It had some really treasures of people in it, but just karmically we were not aligned. And it made me do some really big soul searching about why am I doing what I'm doing? And I found out that, when you do want to seek knowledge, but you do have to be mindful of where that knowledge comes from. And if the people sharing that knowledge share your same values.
Mhm.
That for me was a big aha moment because there are people that are spouting things that either they're not living or they're not living themselves, or they don't even align with my own personal values. So I would
Mhm.
always take less money to be home for dinner. I just
Mhm.
that's my mom, family, that is my big
Non-negotiable.
correct. And
Mhm.
so when I listen to getting information, okay, well, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this. And I really had to get very discerning and say, no, I don't. I don't
Mhm.
have to do that. I can have it all. I can have my cake, eat it too, and not gain the calories, right? And I know sometimes I joke because I sound like a princess. I'm really not. I'm just super like tactical with what I choose to say yes to and what I intentionally
Yes.
say no to. And I've gotten really good at that since I decided to let my second school go, and I sold it to my director, and she loves it and she wanted to be an entrepreneur. And it's so funny because sometimes our nightmares are someone else's dreams. And
Oh, girl.
we forget that. And
Mhm.
I am holding on to this stuck in my own personal hell loop, feeling like a failure
Mm.
every day when this is actually someone's dream, and I'm not doing
Mhm.
anyone a service by holding on to it. Now, was it hard to let it go? You bet your sweet bottom it is. You know why? Because in our industry, what's the first question people ask? How many schools do you own?
Mhm.
And like somehow that number makes us either more or less successful. I'm going to tell you a couple of things because now I get to see people's books. More
Yeah.
schools does not equal more money all the
No,
time.
it doesn't.
Actually, a
Mm-mm.
lot of times it doesn't, unless they're super successful schools. But if they're mediocre schools with like mediocre enrollment and you've got like a regional or a couple middle people, you're actually probably not making more money than one single site banging, less overhead, less nightmares. Just
Yes.
there. But
Yes.
no one in our industry says that, do they? No, they're like, oh, you need more schools. You need more schools. Not always.
Yes.
I also found out that it was not letting me live the life that I wanted to because I was constantly putting out dumpster fires.
Mhm.
And frankly, my husband's the firefighter, not me. I don't put out dumpster fires as well as he does. I don't want
Yeah.
to. I actually like peace and harmony. I'm like a hippie, but like modern. And so I realized I was like, this has to go. This is a toxic relationship. This is not working. It must go. That was the hardest decision I have ever made. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie. Like that was so difficult. I actually like wrote it a breakup letter. Um it's
That's
not
a great idea. I have many centers, and I can just testify to not a lot of locations mean a lot of money. And I've also had to sell one because of that. Actually, I ended up selling two. So I've opened eight. I've owned eight schools. I now have I was going to say only six, but that is still a lot of schools. I just got our sixth school, which was not part of the plan. But opening, selling, acquiring, shutting down, all that requires so much emotional
Mhm.
capacity, more aside from the numbers and making the decision. We're so attached to them because they're our baby. We even call them my baby, like, oh, my baby. You spend time there, you invest. Yeah, well, yeah, can you show us your book, please? Because I think the book hits
Ref
yeah, from passion to Payday by Chelsea Rue. And I will tell you what, we were just having this conversation when we got on. And I'm like, she said something, I said something, and she's like, that's the first page in my book. So why don't you read the first page of your book or whatever floats your boat? Share with
I
us.
also laughed because I also referenced that we call it our baby in the book too. So, oh yeah, there it is. It's on page 2. Your business is not your baby. So I'm laughing so hard because
Yeah, because it's true.
it is. So I used to believe my business was me. I tied my identity to it, my worth, my mood, my confidence. When things were going well, I felt on top of the world. When things dipped, when a family left, or payroll was tight, or licensing came through with an unannounced visit, I spiraled. My business wasn't just something I ran, it was something I was. And let me
Mm,
tell you, that's dangerous.
mm,
So that's the opening on chapter 1 of my book. And I wrote it honestly because I needed it. I
Mhm.
so everything I do when I do public speaking or like the book, it's because I wish someone had like taken that torch ahead of me and like lit the path. And
Mhm.
so I think that's part of my just personal why is that like, I had to fumble through the bushes blind, but I want to like make the path for others because I see how hard it is for people, even when they need to sell, even when it's it's killing their health or their mental health,
Mm.
or they have a family member that needs them to be there, right? But they're still struggling. They feel guilty for selling their school or for walking away because
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, not just childcare people, but entrepreneurs have attached their identity and self-worth to their business. And let me tell you what, that's terrifying since like what, 1 in 5 businesses fail. So we are inadvertently saying, I'm giving myself basically a no, it's not 1 in 5 fail, it's 1 in 5 succeed, right?
Yes.
So we're giving ourselves 80% chance of being failures. Am I thinking about this right? Like
I'm drawing a blank, but I feel like
we're
it's
basically screwing ourselves from the get-go. Let's just
yeah, I mean, I think like most businesses fail after the first 3
within the
years
first 5
because
years. Yeah.
yeah, it's just one of those it's just like a numbers thing. And once you make it to that and then you look at the businesses that have revenue of $1 million and above also and of those that are women that there's like we're a very small percentage. And so you start looking at the stats and how the odds are really stacked against us, if you will. But
But shit happens.
yeah, I mean,
Thing
and I think that's the whole point here is that it has not it's not related to yes, we affect our business and yes, we run the business and yes, we make decisions. But at the end of the day, is that where all our worth is as a person? And is
yeah,
that all my impact in life, you know? And so
it's not
that's
the
what your
same.
point of saying is this like we are so much more than just our business.
Our business is and it's not even a full reflection of us.
Correct.
And I think honestly, it probably shouldn't be because if it is, you might have been putting a little bit too many personal eggs in a basket. But, at the end of the day, sometimes I do think we need to just realize it's just business. Our
Mhm.
employees can always quit their job. And honestly, like in Texas, we have to fund that through workman's unemployment insurance, right? So they even have a safety net if we fail. We don't, right?
Mhm.
As the entrepreneur, we took all the risk.
Mhm.
That's my number one. We deserve the reward.
Yes.
This whole you have to share everything with your employees. I'm like, they didn't sign the bank note. I did. If this goes under, they have unemployment insurance and I have bankruptcy. Not the same thing. So
Mhm.
just
Absolutely.
let's just separate those two for right now. Um, But also, we do have to really be mindful of how we view ourselves and how we view our business, and realizing that those are two separate things. And that's okay. Honestly, it's healthy. Um, because when
So
you
true.
are your business, number one, there's a lot of things that are outside of your control. Legislation can change this session, and all of a sudden, guess what? Universal cradle to college is fully paid for by the government and we're no longer needed. Or, you have an unfortunate, God forbid, an infant dies in your program and that just, of SIDS, right? Like just these total
Mm.
big things can happen that you can't predict, you can't prevent, you
Yes.
can't do anything about. But yet when you're tying your whole self-worth up into this, mystery.
Business. Mhm.
Number
It's
one, do you really have healthy self-worth at that point? Like, you know, because you will evolve beyond this. At least I hope you do, right? Like, I hope that this is merely just a plan in your, eventual journey in life.
Mhm. Absolutely. There comes a point in life. I mean, listen, life, there's seasons. In On earth, there's seasons. A business has seasons too. And we have to be okay with the season that we personally are in, and maybe the season our business is in. It's not always going to be steady and the same. And that if that fluctuates, it's a reflection of how good or how dumb essentially we are. I mean, I used to think like, oh my God, I'm so dumb. I should have thought this through. Why did I did, all this stuff. And I had to give myself grace, and I had to just g- plug into my faith and think like my heart was in the right place. I analyzed, I learned, and that's when I went to start getting help from people, to not just bank on a prayer, which yes, I believe in prayer, but I also believe in working hard and smart and having knowledge to back up your decisions, and then the rest is up to God. And like, okay, Lord, I put my best foot forward. I did my best. I can't just keep feeling like a failure or always winning, but really truly understanding that rain or shine, I bring I have a purpose in my life. I am created to have impact to those around me. And maybe for a season, it's in these children's lives and in my staff members' lives. And maybe in another season, it's going to look a little different. But it's okay, because this is the season, and it's good to close doors so that other doors can open. And there is no shame in that game. And I think that whether you're in childcare or you're not, and it's a new season and a new day, it's okay. And I see that, I think too, as females, we are so territorial and we're so protective. We're like mama bears, right? We're mama bears with our children, but also mama bears on the things that we've built and created. And men are wired differently, obviously. And I see it, like they just make decisions. They list, they sell, they buy and sell like nothing. They're very matter of fact and based on their numbers and what works for them and what's not, and then they move on to the next thing. And so, not that I want to be like that all the time, but I think there's value and accepting seasons and looking at what's meant for me will be for me, whether it's this or something else, and it's okay to change. Well, I know we could talk about this for a long time, but uh what are some closing thoughts, Chelsea, for anyone listening? Um,
I think I've got a good sum up. Do what's best for you. And everything else will fall into place. We would never fault an employee for making a change that's best for their family. We need to give ourselves the same love. If there is a tough decision you're sitting on, and maybe it's not selling your business, maybe it's I need to cut back hours at work, maybe it's I need to, I really want to go chase this new dream, right? There is no shame in doing what's best for you. The world will be better for it because when you are living in your truth and you are doing what you are truly called to do, you are making such amazing impact and waves. And I think what breaks my heart the most is when I see people that aren't living and leaning into that truth. They're still wearing whatever mask or costume that they feel they have to. And I think I'm in that season where I'm trying to say the hard things for people and maybe give some words to those things and like, oh, yeah, I need to do that. So, you know
yeah,
what? Just go for it. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, y- no one else matters but you. And I don't mean like not family, but I'm saying the people on social media, your colleagues, your employee, right? Like what you need to do, it, do it for you, because I think we come from such a selfless place that it's hard.
Mhm.
That concept of selfish is bad, but I don't think it is, because only when you're really living in your truth can you be of value to others.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time today. I loved our conversation. We could talk about this for hours, because this is something that I feel like I live in on a daily basis. And I have just loved seeing your journey. And if you are in the industry, you got to get a copy of Chelsea's book. We will link everything here. And Chelsea, if our listeners would like to get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of on social media in that I have one. I'm not highly responsive on social media. Email is like my best friend, and it's Chelsea, CHELSEA at preschoolexchange.com is my easiest email, and I'm super responsive on there.
Perfect. Well, we will make sure we have everything tagged and linked down below. And thank you for your time and wisdom today. Thanks for spilling the tea, Chelsea. And until
Absolutely.
next time. Thank you for joining me on another episode. If you enjoyed today's tea, make sure to follow, rate, and leave a review. Stay connected with us on social media at The Tea with Martha for updates and behind the scenes moments. Remember, every woman's story is a sip of inspiration, and together we're brewing success. This is Martha signing off. Cheers!